and welcome to International American University College of Medicine's information session. My name is Sarah Curtis, and I am the Director of Student Services on the island. So when you arrive on the island, I will be the one to greet you personally and pick you up and get you all settled into your housing and grocery shopping. But we'll talk a little bit more about student services in here in just a minute. But I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. My goal is by the time this presentation is over that you've gained the information that you're in need of. If you're sitting here today, it's because you have a dream of becoming a doctor. Becoming a doctor is one of the most respected professions. It's where you'll find some of the most hardworking individuals. It's where you'll also find some of the most highly paid professionals. It's one of the most fulfilling jobs. However, it is also one of the most difficult career paths you can choose. One thing I would like to explain to you guys a little bit about is a crisis that the U.S. and Canada is facing right now. The American Association of Medical Colleges states by the year 2025, the U.S. will be short by 125,000 physicians. As of last year, Canada was already short by 26,000 individuals. These numbers are just going to continue to increase at this point in time. So this is just a brief explanation of what is currently happening in the U.S. When you apply to a U.S. or a Canadian medical school, on average, only 5% of the applicants are going to be accepted. So to break that down a little bit more, it means for every 20 students who apply to a U.S. or Canadian medical school, only one is going to be accepted. And the one individual that is going to be accepted is going to have a 3.8 GPA, which is going to be on the 4.0 U.S. system, and is going to have an average MCAT score of a 33P. On average, a U.S. medical student is going to score between an 18 and a 24 on this exam. So this is a very exceptional student who will actually get accepted into this program. Because of the low numbers that are being accepted in the U.S., we're creating what is called a bottleneck problem here. See, in the U.S. right now, on average, there's about 50,000 applicants that come in every year. However, there's only 18,000 medical seats available. But at the same time, every year there's roughly about 35,000 residency spots available. And most of them are not being filled because there's not enough medical students coming out of the U.S. And this is where foreign medical education comes into place. Specifically, this is where International American University comes into play. We will make up the difference here to make sure that these spots are being filled by our students. Currently, here's a ratio of what's currently happening in the U.S. Right now, 74% of the physicians are made up of U.S. medical graduates. And with that, 26% are made up of international medical graduates. Within the next 5 to 10 years, 25% of the U.S. medical graduates are going to retire, which means another 25% is going to be filled by international medical graduates. Currently in the U.S., 1 out of every 4 doctors is an international medical graduate, which is roughly about 260,000 practicing physicians right now in the U.S. completed schooling outside of the U.S. So next I want to talk to you a little bit about St. Lucia, because I know most people are not familiar with St. Lucia, so go ahead. St. Lucia is considered a third world country. It is found in the West Indies. It is in the southern east side of the United States. St. Lucia is an independent country. It is not part of the U.S. The only island that is part of the U.S. is Puerto Rico. St. Lucia is run by a prime minister. It has its own government system set up. It is completely by itself. Right now, the population of the island is set at 174,000 people. The main language on the island is English, and our courses will also be taught in English. The older generation speaks Creole. It's a mix between English and French. On the island, the currency is the Eastern Caribbean dollar. So for every 1 US dollar, it's equivalent to 2.67 EC. The average temperature in St. Lucia is going to be between 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. So the weather's not too bad at all. It's about that year-round. It'll never be cold. You'll never need a jacket in St. Lucia. The weather is perfect. The island is a very small island. It's 27 miles long by 14 miles wide. So it's a very small island. The way that the island is set up is that there's a main road that just goes around the island. There's no shortcuts. You got to go all the way around. St. Lucia is a very safe island. It's actually rated the #1 destination for honeymoons. It is also one of the top 5 locations to see in the Caribbean. So it's very safe. Your daughters are going to be safe on the island. I travel to the island by myself 3 times a year. I've never had a problem in St. Lucia. So here's a couple of just a few pictures here of the island. Though St. Lucia is a third world country, it is becoming very modernized. You can find Domino's Pizza, you can find KFC, your Subway. Some of the luxuries of home you'll find in St. Lucia as well. However, there are a number of local cuisines that we highly encourage students to test the local food. We have a number of restaurants that's actually located right around the school. So you have lots of opportunities to eat some of the Creole food that's there. St. Lucia is very warm, like I mentioned. It's also a very beautiful island, and it's very safe. Here's a few other pictures. Here's a new Indian restaurant that actually just opened in St. Lucia, and here are some pictures of the local resort. This is a picture of the beach. It's about a 5-minute walk from campus. A lot of our students do study at this beach and just kind of get away from the classroom. Here's a picture of the international airport that you will fly into. This is where you'll meet myself and my team at the airport. We'll be there to pick you up and make sure that everything's taken care of. So for those of you who have a little bit of an understanding of becoming a doctor, I just want to break it down a little bit more. So for our students who are coming out of grade 12, they'll be needing 1 year of our undergrad coursework, which is going to be our pre-medical sciences. In just a moment, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. IAU does offer a pre-medical science program for students completing grade 12. They will complete 1 year of this program with us, and then they'll matriculate directly into our 4-year MD program. Upon completion of those exams, they'll spend 1.5 years or 16 months in St. Lucia completing their basic science program, and then from there, they'll take their first medical licensing exam, which is the USMLE Step 1. Upon completion and passing of this exam, they will move to the United States and complete their clinical rotations. Clinical rotations is about 2 years long, or equivalent to 76 weeks. And upon completion of those rotations, our students will then sit for the USMLE Step 2, which is the second licensing exam. This exam actually has 2 parts to it. There's a clinical knowledge section and then a clinical skills section. From that point, once our students pass both of these exams, they will then graduate with our program, and then we will assist them into getting into residency. Residency will last anywhere between 3 to 4 years, depending on the specialty of your choice. Family medicine, internal medicine is going to be on the lower ends. You're looking 2 to 3 years. And now if you're looking for surgery or brain surgery, you're going to be in residency for quite a long time. You're looking 7 to 8 years, if not more, depending on your specialty. Upon completion and passing of residency, you'll then sit for your USMLE Step 3, and upon completion and passing of this exam, you'll become a licensed physician in the States. You will also be able to open your own practice in the States if you wish to do so. So here's an overview of where you'll spend your time. So within the 5-year program, you will complete 3 years in St. Lucia and 2 years within the States, residency being after our program. During these 4 semesters, our students will cover the following courses here. They'll complete their general chemistry, their physics courses, biology courses, organic chemistry, and also will take an English course during these semesters. Once the students complete that and move into the 4-year MD program, these are the courses that they will take for their medical program. This list can be found on our website, so it's a little bit hard to read on this, but it can be found on our website for more information, and there's also a course breakdown per subject on our website. So one of the main things that IAU is very prized on is the fact that we have small classroom sizes. We understand that pursuing medicine is a very difficult career, and the personal attention for each of our students is needed, which is why currently we hold an 8-to-1 student to faculty ratio. Our students do not go unnoticed at our campus. Within the first week, we will know your name, we will know your family, we will know everything there is to know about you. You cannot hide from us. compared to what you would find in the U.S. In the U.S. or Canada, they're currently sitting at a 20-to-1 student-to-faculty ratio. A lot of times in the U.S. and Canadian classes, people get overlooked. You don't get the opportunity to meet your professors. If you need the extra help, it's too hard to make an appointment with your professors. That's not the case with IAU. If you need an appointment, you just need to go to their office and they'll spend the extra time with you. So IAU has entered a new innovative teaching method. So in traditional learning, you'll attend lectures, sit through labs, participate reading your textbooks, and then take your exams. This is considered what is called a remote style of learning. It also requires a lot of memorization. And in med school, you're gonna complete this traditional method. However, we have implemented what is called a case study method. Basically what this is at the beginning of the week, your professor will put you into groups of 3 or 4, and they will present some type of case to you. For example, a patient is coming to the hospital whose left arm is numb and is having chest pain. Okay, so they'll get a breakdown of what the individual symptoms of the patient has come in with. They'll get the week to analyze the case, and then at the end of the week, they'll come back and present the diagnosis of the patient. So pretty much they'll take what they've been learning in class and what they've been reading in textbooks and apply it to a real life situation. This brings in your practical application, which we have found has helped our students advance themselves on the USMLE or first medical licensing exam. This also makes for some active learning here. It causes you to work in groups. Traditional medicine that's happening right now is not just done by one doctor anymore. A lot of times one patient is being seen by multiple doctors, so it teaches you how to work with other individuals as well. The next thing that IAU is very much prized on is our early patient exposure. See, in the US and Canada, students aren't able to see a live patient until their 3rd year of teaching. But at IAU, we have actually implemented this into the 1st semester. So within your 1st and 2nd semester, you're going to go to the local clinics and you're going to shadow doctors. You're going to get to take patient history. You're going to learn to take vital signs and blood pressure. And then in your semesters 3 and 4, you're going to start going to the local hospital. And with that, you'll be walking with the local physicians and the attendings, and they will actually be teaching you the process of diagnosing a patient. So you get a lot of exposure within the first 4 semesters, which already puts you ahead of US or Canadian students. So once you've completed your pre-medical science coursework for the first 4 semesters, then you're matriculated into the basic science. Once you complete those 4 semesters, you'll then enter what is called the bridge semester. The bridge semester is going to cover 3 main things. The first is going to cover an intro to clinical medicine course. It's a 4-week course that you'll take in a U.S. hospital, and what it is, it'll prepare you to start taking your clinicals. From there, you'll take a 7-week Kaplan review course, which will recover everything that you've learned from the beginning all the way until present. And then from there, you'll sit for your first medical licensing exam. So with the USMLE being one of the most difficult tests you'll take, and we know this, we do a couple things to prepare our students. The first thing is that we are one of the only schools that offers what is called an MBME exam. It's a shelf exam. The MBME is the organization who writes the USMLEs, okay? So basically what happens is they take questions from an old USMLE exam and they put it onto a new exam for us to give to our students at the end of every semester. So this does a couple things. One, it tests our students' knowledge based off of what's happening currently in the US. And 2, it allows our students to understand how questions are going to be worded during the USMLE. A lot of times students fail exams because they misread the question, not because they don't know the information. So we want to prepare them to read the questions properly before the exam comes. Go ahead, hit the next one. After that, they'll take a 7-week Kaplan review course. It can be taken in any city that's available for the exam. The great thing about Kaplan is that during Kaplan, they will give you mock tests. Every 2 weeks, within the 7 weeks, you will take a mock exam. This will tell you exactly where you sit as if you were going to take the USMLE exam today. So this helps our students prepare themselves. It helps them understand if they're weak in one area or they're strong in another. It's definitely something that is beneficial to our students. So once our students complete the Intro to Clinical Medicine, the 7-week Kaplan Review course, and take their USMLE, upon passing of that exam, they will then start clinical rotations. Within our program, there are 48 weeks of core rotations or mandatory rotations that our students are required to take. And then upon passing of those, you'll then be able to take your elective rotations. You have 28 weeks of elective rotations. There's a whole list on our website if you want to look to see. We encourage students to take the elective rotations that is equivalent to the specialty that they want to go into. It helps with your residency opportunities. So here you'll see a few different red stars here. These are where the majority of our clinical rotations are offered right now in the States. Currently there are 2 main locations that our students go to, which is going to be Chicago, Illinois, and Atlanta, Georgia. In those 2 locations, our students can complete all of their clinical rotations without having to move. The other locations, you can only stay there for a minimum of either 12 or 6 weeks, depending on how many rotations are available at those individual locations. So once you complete your 76 weeks of clinical rotations, you'll take your USMLE Step 2. You'll take both parts, and upon completion and passing of that exam, you will then graduate with our program and you'll receive your MD degree. At that point, we will then assist you into residency. We will assist you on how to fill out your applications, do your mock interviews, and get you all prepared to go take these interviews for the hospitals. So for those of you who aren't sure about how residency works, residency is not something that IAU can guarantee. However, we will do everything we can possibly do to make sure you are prepared for your interviews. So basically what happens is there's a program called the National Resident Matching Program, and they are considered, let's say, a third party into getting into a residency. So for example, if I'm a student and I apply to 5 different hospitals that I want to work for residency, I will go interview with each of those 5, and then on a list, I will rank 1 through 5 from the most hospital that I want to work for to the least hospital that I want to work for. The hospital, in turn, is going to do the same thing. Let's say they interview 300 people for the job. They will then rank from 1 to 300 which student they want most to the least. And then we both will submit to the match program. The match program will then look at both sides and see which hospital works best for me and me best for the hospital. And based off of that, residency positions are given. So we will do everything we can to prepare you and help you through this process. And then our ultimate goal is for you to be placed into residency. IAU has a number of credentials and also accreditations. Here are just a few of the ones that we have. We are recognized by the World Health Organization, also known as WHO. We have been chartered by the government of St. Lucia, which means our students are able to practice on the island of St. Lucia once they've completed their education. We have been recognized by ECFMG, which is the Education Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. We have been listed in the IMED directory, and we are also recognized and listed by the Medical Council of India. So just to touch upon a few things, IAU really does offer a world-class medical education. Our students' careers and their success is really what we hope for. Our tuition is fairly affordable, and we'll talk more about that here in just a few minutes. We have innovative teaching methods. A lot of people are not implementing the case study, and we definitely have done that. We offer early patient exposure. We have the extensive USMLE preparation. We really want to make sure that our students succeed. And last but not least, we offer personal attention, and we want to make sure that each of our students are taken care of as an individual and not just as a group. So, thank you so much.